In this episode, I complete a tricky installation of the fuel tank, try an experiment. The first experiment did not work, and Cormac makes excellent progress on painting cabinets. My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home. Now that the interior is painted, we get to install permanently the fuel tank into the boat. Greg, who owns Adventure Marine outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, built us this beautiful aluminum diesel fuel tank last winter. Cormac helped me get the rig set up to hoist the tank up and down out of its hole so that I can work under and around it. There are a few things to consider here, and that is I want to make sure that the tank is fully supported underneath it and that there is not going to be any water getting trapped underneath the tank as well. It's going to be bolted to the wall. There are tabs to do that. Getting feet under the tank is kind of the goal of this project. The tank was designed and built using CAD. I 3D scanned the space, which is the port side quarter berth, that the tank will live in, and designed the tank inside the 3D model of the space. When I designed the tank, I left a little margin for error around it because I had never done this before, and I didn't want to build a tank that didn't fit. So underneath the tank, there is space for feet, as well as fore and aft I left a little room for fairing blocks. So first I needed to build the feet underneath the tank so that it would be well supported. It already touches or almost touches the hole in these spots, but feet need to be built in these 4 areas under the tank. At the end of a long workday, sometimes I have really sweaty feet.
Please spare us the details. I really don't think our viewers want to know all about your sweaty feet.
I think our viewers will be very interested to hear about my feet today because today I am wearing Camel City Mill socks. These socks are made from merino wool, which wicks sweat 35% better than cotton and polyester. That means my feet stay dry and comfortable through a long workday. Also, the thermal regulation keeps my feet warm in the winter and cool in the summer. We know quite a few of you are trade workers, and we think that you will appreciate these socks just like I do. Get 10% off my favorite work socks from Camel City Mill. Click the link below the video and use code Duracell10 to get 10% off.
I know you truly appreciate these socks, but I really think our viewers have seen enough of your feet for one episode, honey.
Speak for yourself. I think you're jealous that I am a foot model. I ground off the paint from the hole where I want the feet to go and then plopped a big blob of Total Boat's high-performance epoxy thickened with colloidal silica and high-density filler. I waxed up that area of the tank and then set the tank down in position. The next day, I lifted the tank and the blobs were flat pads or feet that the tank sits on. I did this in 2 different sessions. Yeah, these things worked.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that one turned out really good. This one's a little small, but it's flat. The tank also had to be secured fore and aft. There was a lot of space aft of the tank that needed to be filled, so I cut out a couple fairing blocks out of Doug fir. These will be glued to the wall at the tabs of the tank, and then the through bolts holding the tank in place will go through these blocks. Once the aft end of the tank was positioned, I could basically shim in the forward end to pin the tank in place. I used these Coosa board blocks as shims. Now I have 4 of those feet made. The tank sits on the boat in 2 more spots, plus there's the angle on this side, plus all of the tabs on the top of the tank where I'm going to through bolt it to the bulkheads. I think the tank is going to be very well secured to the boat. That's the point of this whole thing. And so now what we're going to do is make pads out of this 1/4 inch thick rubber, which will prevent the tank from rubbing, abrading, rubbing a hole in the tank as the boat vibrates along. So that's today's project, and then hopefully we'll bolt it to the wall.
And so we're just using spray adhesive, and it's holding these things on just fine, I think. So now we gotta see if it fits with all these. Just go down on the wall. Look at that perfect fit.
The tank has tabs on top for through bolting the tank to the surrounding bulkheads. These surrounding bulkheads are all foam cord, which is susceptible to being crushed by the bolts. So I'm going to install phenolic tubes where the bolts go to prevent any crushing and provide a good bearing for the bolts. My mom drilled pilot holes through the tabs to find where the bolts will go. Then we raised the tank again and used the pilot holes to core out the first fiberglass skin and foam core, not all the way through the second skin. Then we cut a bunch of the tubes to length and glued them into the holes using Total Boat's Thixo Pro Epoxy. This is another excellent application for this glue. The tubing I bought has an oversized inside diameter for the bolts, so we filled the inside with epoxy to get a tighter fit for the bolt. We'll drill them out again later. After it was all cured, I lowered the tank and drilled out the holes to fit the through bolts. I'm feeling really good about the fuel tank now being secured into the boat. That was the project, was making sure that it's not going to fall out or move around when the boat's getting jostled all over the place. And so it is very secure. When it's weighed down with fuel, the tank is going to be well supported. And like I said, I'm feeling really good about it. I'm bolting it to the wall now. I actually need a second pair of hands to help me crank the bolts down, but that's pretty much all that's left to do. I installed backing plates on the opposite sides of the bulkheads, and yeah, like I said, it's going to be very, very secure. So this is a very exciting next step. It's kind of the beginning of the system stuff. You know, from here I get to start plumbing this fuel tank in. I'm not going to do that next, but it is one of the projects on the horizon. The hybrid propulsion system is going to be, we're going to start kind of mocking that up very soon, maybe even as soon as next week. And so getting all this secured is a step towards those kinds of projects. This is one of those necessary steps in boat building that's like not terribly exciting for some people, but I think it's very exciting just to see the tank get installed into the boat. And so, yeah, like I said, very happy. And again, thanks so much to Greg for building this tank for us. It fits so well, and he did such a beautiful job building it. It's going to be a great part of the boat. Today I'm doing an experiment. Throughout this build I've had a problem with the edge banding, and that it takes a long time, and I'm always trying to find a way to do it more quickly. So today what I'm doing is building hat caps.
that I can just basically slip onto the edge of any of these foam panels, and that should seal up the edge. So what I did is I made this little form, so I'll be able to make 2 little strips of them. I'm going to use just a 6-ounce cloth, and we'll see how it looks when it's all vacuum bagged and pops onto my panels tomorrow. Yeah, if this works, everybody, including me, is going to wonder why I didn't do this a million years ago.
Inspector, it's not time to inspect yet. Patience.
All right, let's see if this works. Cormac and Alder are here for the riveting conclusion of the edge banding experiment.
It's nice to have an audience, isn't it?
Oh.
A live audience.
For a live audience, yes. Here's my little hat section. Let's see if it fits on a piece. The first experiment did not work, I would say, but it's close. I made the inside dimension too small, by like a 32nd of an inch. I did that intentionally so that I hoped it would kind of snap onto the edge of like the 1/2 inch Endura panel. But yeah, it's too small and it's also too flimsy. So I think I need to do 2 layers. So we will try again.
For attempt number 2, I made the forms a little wider, and I used 2 layers of 6-ounce glass instead of 1. When I peeled version 1 off, they tended to kink as they were coming off, so I'm hoping that this version will be a bit more stiff for pulling off the foam.
So this is round number 2. We'll see how this batch turned out. Aha! That is better. So the whole point of this is to edge band this foam edge easily, you know, try and save some time in edge banding. And so now I've got this hat-shaped, it's a U-shaped piece that will just fit onto the panel like so. It doesn't snap on, but it kind of holds itself on there. And so I can load this edge up with just some Thixo Pro, some thick epoxy, and smash this thing on there. And once it's cured, then I can just buzz it with the sander, and it will look great, I hope. So that's the whole goal here, is just to make life a little bit easier. We're gonna go try this out. We're gonna glue these onto the new anchor locker, chain locker.
There's so many exposed foam edges to choose from.
No, There's not. We did so many. Like all the ones that are on the inside of the boat in the interior are pretty much all done.
So why did we go through all this testing?
Well, because I had this idea the other night and I wanted to try it out. And there's going to be some more to do, for sure.
This is one of those instances, honey, and I say this with admiration, and I'm actually quite tickled, but I feel like I am seeing like the little boy Matt, who is just having so much fun with his Lego set. I didn't know you as a little boy, but your mom tells me about the elaborate Lego things you would build. Mm-hmm. I feel like little boy Matt is coming out right now.
That's right. Let's see if it works first. Voila.
Voila!
Yep. So I'll do a little bit of cleanup. I think I'm going to tape them down. There's a couple little gaps that I'll fill with just fill it with thick soap. But so far so good. I'm very curious about this to see how well it goes. I think this will work if I did like a mass production of these things. And then I could just cut them out real quick, glue them on.
The edge banding turned out really nice after a very quick sanding session. I was hoping that the vertical surface would stay intact, but I ended up sanding it all off. I'm going to try again by just making a U-shaped edge band instead of a full hat shape. Yanni does have a point about me just wanting to test an idea I had. We don't have that many more exposed edges to cover, but maybe, just maybe, this will be helpful to someone watching who has a bunch of foam edges to finish.
I'm working on painting the insides of the cabinets. So the reason we aren't using the primer that we did for the rest of the boat is there's this old paint. The primer wouldn't stick to this old paint, and we didn't want to sand all the old paint off. We're just going to paint it with bilge coat, which will stick to the old paint. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm masking everything so paint drips don't get on it, on the fresh paint. Cleaning everything and taking off all the peel ply.
Cormac is cleaning and painting all the insides of cupboards and drawers. This might not seem like a big task, but it absolutely is. It took close to 2 weeks for Cormac to get 3 coats of bilge coat inside all the cabinets in the living area of the boat. I'm so glad we decided to hire on Cormac to help get this big job done. He's a quick learner, he's detail-oriented, and he works hard.